Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. I'm Dr. James Cooley, your host, and I tell you, we got this absolutely fantastic show coming your way today. We're gonna learn a whole lot of things about um, real talk about such psychological wellness, and we're also gonna learn about community built, how important it is to be part of the community, and also be willing and helpful and lending a helpful hand. So, uh, as you know, always, wherever you're watching this show from, whether you're watching on E360 TV, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, you can always go to the comments portion of it, and you can always ask questions. And we're going to bring the radio portion in of the show in very shortly. And you can also call on the radio. That's 1-888-577-2473. How you doing out there, Michelle?
I'm doing good. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and we're just really excited about today's show. And it's we're gonna have we have a guest on today who's doing a lot of great things. Who's been helping the community for a very long time, and he's still going at it. And there's a couple of topics he wants to discuss, especially psychological wellness, but also the nonprofit organization that he runs. So this is going to be a very good show today. What do you think, James?
I am so excited with this show. I tell you what, let's bring the radio audience in, and so we can get started. So, hey Todd, let's do this.
Life is a series of circles and cycles, phases and stages. These are your experiences that teach you the lessons of life. You can either ignore them or embrace them. Welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. James is a motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the James Cooley Foundation. James is here to equip you to strive for greatness and to overcome adversity. It's time to get equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. Now, here's the host of It's Your Life, James Cooley.
Hello, welcome to It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and wow, I want everybody to sit back, grab you about 8-9 bags of popcorn, because we got a fantastic guest, here today, Mr. Roberts Sausedo, and I tell you, this young man is doing so many things in the community, helping so many folks out, got so many programs that had put together and that he manages well, so we're going to get an opportunity to get a chance to know him, learn about some of the programs that he's doing, and also how you can help out in a lot of things that we're doing, because we all are one team. We all are one team, and it takes a village, just like he says in one of his sayings. It takes an entire village to really raise one kid or to help one community out. So we're gonna talk about all those great things. And so, how you doing, Todd? How you doing?
I'm always good, especially when I'm a part of the James Cooley Show, because you always have great guests on, and I can't wait to hear your guests' information today on mental health.
Well, Todd, I tell you, man, this is gonna be a good one, man. It's gonna be a good one, and I can't wait to get started. So, if you want to be part of this conversation, you can call in. We got a line open at the radio station. That's 1-888-577-2473. Or regardless of where you're watching this at, whether it's E360 TV, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. You can go to the comments and give StreamYard your permission to show your Facebook picture, and you can ask as many questions of this young man that you want to. Michelle, I'm ready to get started. Can you please introduce this great guy?
Yes, I love to. I want to just give the audience, it's not 1-888, it is 1-866-577-2473 to call in and ask this amazing guest a question. So the title of today's show is Real Talk About Psychological Wellness. And the purpose is getting to know the president and CEO of Community Build Inc. and the founder of the Community Response System of South Los Angeles, Robert Sausedo. and talk about what makes Community Build Inc. such a vital resource to South LA. And we're going to discuss the phrase psychological wellness and the causes of people not being psychologically well, and also what can be done to maintain or regain psychological wellness. So let's talk about our guest today, Mr. Robert Sausedo, a native Angeleno. Sausedo has been engaged and involved with civic matters that impact youth, economic development, social justice, and literacy for over 30 years. In April 2019, he was selected to head Community Build Inc., one of Los Angeles' oldest nonprofit organizations, which was founded by LA City Deputy Mayor Brenda Shockley and Congresswoman Maxine in the wake of LA's 1992 civil unrest, as an organization dedicated to rebuilding South LA and providing resources and services to the community, particularly at-risk youth, young adults, and families with children. Since arriving at Community Build, Mr. Sausedo aggressively sought to increase funding sources to support an expansion of Community Build's services and community assistance program. Under his leadership, the budget has more than doubled from $3.3 million to $6.9 million in less than 2 years. A native of South LA, Mr. Sausedo is acutely attuned to the needs of the community, launching new programs. At the beginning of the pandemic in March 2020, Mr. Sausedo founded the Community Response System of South LA in a vehicle to ensure South LA residents receive their share of city resources and life necessities. The collaboration begins with 30 key community organizations, churches, educational institutions, and other stakeholders in the South LA area. Since its inception, this organization has distributed over 10 million pounds of food to the neediest areas at sites across LA. Prior to leading Community Build and founding CRSSLA, Mr. Sausedo served as Deputy for Agency and Review for former Los Angeles County Board of Supervisor Mark Ridley Thomas. The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, welcomes Mr. Robert Sausedo to the show.
How you doing, sir? How you doing? Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to finally connect with the two of you, and thank you for being patient with our staff and planning this wonderful conversation.
Wow, it's an absolute pleasure having you on the show and all the great things that you're doing. So I know Michelle introduced you, but can you tell our audience a little bit more about where you grew up and what was your fondest memories in your community?
Sure. I'm a native Los Angeleno, and as I told you earlier, I was born, raised, and will die in Los Angeles. And I'm very proud to just be a big part of this city. I grew up in both the Arlington Heights and Jefferson Park communities. And I think, what I had the blessing of when I grew up on both parts of town is there were a lot of young men that we grew up with on one of our blocks that we lived on were 14 boys. And many of us are still very close to this day as friends and brothers in Christ. And we continue to maintain those relationships. So LA has very fond memories. I am second generation on my mother's side of the family and third generation on my father's side of the family. I'm also Afro-Latino, so I'm African-American and Mexican-American. My father, who we lost last year, was of Mexican-American descent and was very, very innovative thinker, which is probably where I get a lot of the ideas that I get.
Wow. So what were some of the lessons that your family taught you that this solid locked into your heart today?
My father was very big on you always protect the women at all cost. And I've lived my life that way. And family is God is always, right? So God is always first. So he just is. And then family. Always treasure family. That's where your real wealth lies. And then thirdly, it's embedded. Community service is embedded in my DNA and goes back to as far as I can remember with my dad and some of the things he was involved in the late 60s and early 70s.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about your education background and how your heart just took you to civil matters and where you are working in the communities and you're doing absolutely wonderful, wonderful things. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I grew up in the Los Angeles area. Was supposed to go to Dorsey or LA High, ended up being bused, and went out to Granada Hills to Kennedy High School. And originally, I chose to go there because I used to like to race cars, and they had the best automotive training center in the LA Unified School District at that time. And then the year I got there is when they closed it, and so I took a business curriculum. And so by the time I graduated high school, I was a level 2 bookkeeper from the classwork that we had in the business curriculum. Went on to West Los Angeles Community College. Didn't finish my formal education, but stayed the course. Got involved corporately. Worked for companies like Xerox when I was on the digital side of the business, and then I ended up in the healthcare sales, selling clinical laboratory services for a number of years. Did very well in that, but always had a dual career where I did community service work. During the Civil Unrest, I was very active prior to that with a number of organizations that are built around social justice, from church and think groups like South Central Organizing Committee, and had a lot of mentors in that regard. And then my post-riot project was going back to my old neighborhood in Jefferson Park, and that was one of the only libraries in the public library system in the city of LA that did not have public restrooms for over 70 years. And so we expanded it. We raised the money to then take it from a 2,500 square foot, what was originally a house, to an 8,500 square foot library. And what we discovered is the library in many communities in the urban core of our cities is the community center. So we were able to put a community meeting room there, a children's reading room. And the thing that's near and dear to my heart was I wanted to see a literacy room placed in the library. And when I stopped by recently to talk to a librarian, they were sharing with me that prior to COVID, that room was standing room only. And what compelled me to do that is a lot of people that I knew growing up that went to prison shared with me that they didn't know how to read, and you would never know it. But had they known how to read, they would have made different decisions. And so it was important, and it still remains important to me, to keep that literacy room open so that people have that life skill. Because as you know, when you read a book, you can go on vacation, you can learn anything you want, and make good decisions because you learn how to reason through reading. So that's a very, very big part of my belief system.
Hold that thought, because we got to take a station break.
Sure.
When we come back, we're going to talk about community building, and we're really going to delve off into this great man. So if you want to be part of this conversation, that's 1-866-577-2473. It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley. We'll be back shortly after the break.
It's Your Life is sponsored by James J.C. Cooley.
Hello. Hey, I'm James Cooley. I am the founder and CEO of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, Options, Opportunities, the Choice Program. Our primary mission is to help build a foundation of our youth and young adults and communities. And we encourage everyone to dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. And the way that you do that is, first of all, you got to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to know that you are here for a purpose. You also have to be able to step out your comfort zone and do things that you probably didn't think that you can do.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet. The true life coming of age story by James J.C. Cooley. Using humor, wit, and engaging storytelling, James paints a picture about his arrival in a rural deep south town and realization that life would never be the same. Cooley lays out his struggle to adjust from city life to country life and back again, sharing his hard-earned lessons to educate, encourage, and enlighten our next generation of leaders and heroes. Get your copy of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James J.C. Cooley, available on Amazon and everywhere books are sold.
Streaming now on the Answer San Diego app and Odyssey.com.
Life is a series of circles and cycles, phases and stages. These are your experiences that teach you the lessons of life. You can either ignore them or embrace them. Welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. Dr. James Cooley is a motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation. Dr. Cooley is here to equip you to strive for greatness and overcome adversity. It's time to get equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. Now, here's the host of It's Your Life, Dr. James Cooley.
Well, hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life, and we got this great man here, Robert Sausedo, that's doing great things in the communities, building the community, and I tell you, just enriching lives and giving true meaning to others who sometimes think that we don't have a chance. Everybody have a chance. Everybody got purpose. You know, we just have to have somebody that show us and encourage us that you can do anything that you set your mind to, anything. So if you want to be part of this great conversation, that's 1-866-577-2473, or you can go to the comments on whichever mechanism you're watching this, and you can ask a question that way as well. Hey, so Robert, you are the president and CEO of Community Built. What exactly is Community Built? And I'll let you get started, but I do have a video on that as well. So I can let you get started, or I can play that first.
Why don't I get started? Let's go back to the video, because that's one of the programs you're going to show. But
Okay.
Community Build is a broad spectrum social service agency, if you would. We operate on the premise of three pillars: promise, which is core of our mission statement of human capital development, economic development, and commercial economic development, which is our housing component. And then people, people with lived experience, whether it's in street culture involvement, counseling services, or otherwise. And then there's our partnerships, bringing and bridging the gap with partners in the financial community, people like City National Bank, Comerica, Union Bank, academia, University of Southern California, Loyola, UCLA, and of course, looking at other partners across the city, like government, local government, federal, and state, in order to make sure that we all have this interchangeable, interactive experience to do better and bring broader resources. And so I'm really excited about that. And then within the scope of our work, we do the mayor's GRID program, which is gang reduction and youth development. We provide intervention services. I don't like to use the word gang, so I say street culture involved to prevent the RICO Act from coming down on some of the folks. And what we do is prevent different groups from fighting. The Southwest Division of Los Angeles Police Department is the safest part of South LA because of the work that we do. So you don't see what we do, but you do feel it. And you feel it in the form of safety. And that's led by our Senior Vice President, Leon Gillette, who one day you should have on your show. He's an incredible human being, been doing that work for 30 years. We also do prevention work so kids 10 to 15 who are on the fence or come from multi-generational street culture involved families. We try to get them on a pathway to a real normal life and get away from the street life. We have economic development where we're starting to launch social enterprises. And then our commercial economic development, we developed 62 units of permanent supportive housing with a 10,000 square foot facility that houses our second location and a mental health services agency at 88th and Vermont. And we'll continue to do that. And we're looking at a couple other locations to be announced that we're opening very soon. And then lastly, not lastly, but the other program that you were talking about is we've partnered with an organization called Shades of Blue. I'm not a jobs guy. I'm more about the conversation of careers. So introducing young people into what it takes to become pilots and aviation, aerospace careers, which you're going to show that video in just a second. And then we launched the crssla.org, which is a collaboration of 30 plus organizations who came together during the pandemic to have shared resources and mutual aid for the community across South LA. And we'll talk more about that a little later. So that's what we do as an organization. So like I said, very broad spectrum.
I see. I mean, you guys doing a whole lot of things. And just like I said, one of the programs that I'm particularly in, all of them are actually, but the video that I watched the other day, really I mean, it gave me hope.
Yes.
Tell you what, Robert, I'm going to show most of that video right now, and then we're going to jump back in this conversation.
I am so thrilled to be here. I am at LAX. We're in this beautiful hangar, and we had the privilege of working with Mayor Garcetti from the city of Los Angeles.
What Shades Blue is teaching us as well is you belong in any dream that you have too. Think about it. Everybody who thinks, well, I don't think I fit the picture of what a pilot is. I want you to go home tonight and look in the mirror. Because if you want it, you're looking at exactly what a pilot should be. Exactly what a pilot should be. And that means that you 100% absolutely belong here.
We're here to introduce the students from all over Southern California to an opportunity for careers in aviation and aerospace. And our goal is to put 1,000 students in the pipeline this year for being pilots and an additional 1,000 students for being aircraft mechanics and flight attendants and so forth.
United Airlines announced about a year ago that they're going to be filling 5,000 pilot seats, half of which will be for people of color. And so we're taking an active role in making sure that we get at least 1,000 young people in the pipeline to fill those slots for the future.
What I want you to know is that it takes a village. It takes a village to raise a child. And I want to welcome you to the village of United Airlines.
I got this advice from my father when I was in high school, knowing that I wanted to fly. And that is, if you know what you want to do, you need to know what's required to get there, and then make sure that you accomplish 110% of those requirements, because then no one can tell you no.
The most exciting thing is the mere fact that we get the students to introduce them to the aviation opportunities, and also to have an opportunity to see that there's people that look like them as pilots. When I was 22 years old, it was as though someone reached in their pocket, pulled out a set of keys, and said, here are your keys to the world. And I want to present this opportunity to all of these youth out here today.
It started with a vision a long time ago. A vision I saw when I was growing up that I didn't see a person that looked like me knowing I want to be a pilot. So as my goal today is to make sure as we build the DEI perspective, that's diversity, equity, inclusion, that every single person around the community knows that there's an opportunity to do something here as a career at the LAX airport. No matter what you look like, where you're from, your cultural or ethnic persons, there's something here for you.
You're also going to see other aviation-related careers with TSA, FBI, fire department, airport police, and a number of other opportunities. Barboza Space Academy is sort of like NASA for children, and they'll be introducing their program with robotics and how they create simulated Mars environments and get young people in the pipeline to become astronauts.
I think the big motivating factor is we've got United Airlines pilots all throughout the building, and our kids are getting to interact with them on a one-on-one basis, and that is helping with the excitement. Then we have all of the junior astronauts are here today in uniform. You probably have seen them on some of these videos.
I'm only 21, but I see so much potential in the next generation, and especially looking at the future of aviation and space travel. I'm already seeing opportunities that the next generation.
Wow. Yeah.
Incredible,
Wow.
right?
That is incredible, Robert. That is incredible. You know, so Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Because I think that encompasses, I did not know about the astronaut portion of it.
And I know you've got an aerospace background. So what we did is, this has been a busy summer around aviation for us and Shades of Blue and Barbosa Space Center. What we did at LAX, Brian Jackson, who is the chief pilot out of LAX, saw a Spectrum news station article about us, and or story, I should say. And he wanted to bring what we were doing in Ontario to LAX, which was always our goal. And so what we did is we featured a 3-week cohort where we brought in over 50 kids to introduce them to careers in aviation and aerospace space. That included United brought in over 55 African-American male and female pilots and other people of color, so that the kids could, have the experience of actually seeing a black pilot, something that it was rare. And I remember on the way there, by the way, we're driving, and Captain Daniels was in the back seat, and we're driving to the event, and I see 3 black pilots walking down the street from their hotel, and I go, look, there's 3 black pilots. And then he goes, no, there's 4. I go, where's the 4th one? He goes, in the back seat. But it was just amazing that even today, that it's still a shocking experience to see that, right? And so the kids were very, very enamored with that. What you saw on the airplane, that was actually a C-17 flown in by the Air Force. And the lieutenant colonel who was heading that up had the kids come on board as a cargo airplane, but like a miniature city inside that thing. And so something they would never see. And the whole idea is to expose them, get them to get the bug. Because there's really, as I know, there's 2 careers that people have embedded them in starting at childhood. One of those careers is a doctor. We're very early on if you want to be a doctor. Mm-hmm. The other one's a pilot, right? And I remember my best friend is a pilot for FlexJet. And I remember as kids, we were laying out on the grass. He pointed to a jet one day. He goes, that's what I'm going to be doing when I grow up. Some people would say, well, aren't lawyers known from childhood? I said, that's usually put on somebody by a family member or something that they've experienced. But those 2 careers usually start at a very early age. And so what I wanted to do with this program, when I heard about Shades of Blue, Captain Daniels, by the way, and I are cousins, and we were at a family reunion. And when he shared the work he was doing, I said, I'd like to have that in Los Angeles. So we initially started in 2014 with a 5-week intensive program at the UPS Flight Operations Center in Ontario. A lot of people don't know UPS is the 8th largest airline in the world. And we were able to send 17 boys and girls through a summer camp. And at the end of the camp, they all flew the equivalent of a Cessna 152 out of Flavorov Airport in Riverside. So it's just exposing them to that. And simultaneous to this program, we graduated over 32 young people from the Ontario airport, which was led by Bruce Alice, the chief operations officer there, and his team with Dr. Barbosa and Tony Marshall. So I'm excited to introduce these careers to young people and put them on a pathway to excellence.
Wow. Hey, hold that thought. We got to take a station break, but we're going to come back. I'm excited. We're going to pick this up, and we really going to get off in the community build and talk some more about all these great things. It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James Cooley. We'll be back shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, or hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? And everything that you do. If you can see it here, you can do it. You might not be able to see it with the physical eyes, but if you can see it here, you can do it. Don't let anyone tell you that you cannot do it. You all are the future leaders of tomorrow. I am a leader. I am a senior. I will be one of the leaders of this world. So, if you know yourself, and if you love yourself, you got the confidence, you can share yourself, you can be who you are. It doesn't matter if you short, tall, fat, big, whatever, black, white, pink, gold, purple. It doesn't matter. You step up with confidence. You are a masterpiece. You are a leader.
That teach you the lessons of life. You can either ignore them or embrace them. Welcome to James Cooley Show. It's your life. Dr. James Cooley is a motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation. Dr. Cooley is here to equip you to strive for greatness and overcome adversity. It's time to get equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. Now, here's the host of It's Your Life, Dr. James Cooley.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. And I tell you, Robert, that the video and all the great things that we're learning that your organization does, especially the housing, the teaching, the mentorship, all of those things is what we need. We need this all across the country. And I think that's what a part of a community built is all about. And Michelle, you said you had a couple of questions, so you got it.
Yes. Before we get into the title of psychological wellness, Mr. Sausedo, I'd like to just ask you just one more question about community build. So there's a lot of challenges, I imagine, being a nonprofit. And can you talk about the challenges Community Build has experienced being a nonprofit organization in South LA, and how have you addressed that?
Certainly. So the biggest challenge of any and all nonprofits and community-based organizations is funding resources and access to resources. In 2013, UCLA pushed out a report that talked about the state of nonprofits in South LA, which they do every year. And unfortunately, that particular report was very damaging to nonprofits because they talked about how smaller nonprofits were not essential or vital. And we know for a fact that's not the case, because when we formed the community response system and became a support mechanism, what we realized is that collaboration is what makes the difference, no matter how big or small a nonprofit is. So we are addressing that. We've been able to reach out, like I said, to partners like City National Bank, who've been very prolific in their assistance to us. The University of Southern California has helped us by giving us 12 interns and financial resources to make sure that this collaboration works. And so we're taking a different approach. The old way of doing things has changed. There is a shift in how we do business. Nonprofits are being asked to really need to work more like for-profit businesses and begin to think that way and run their organizations that way. And so we're seeing that shift take place. We're glad to be at the beginning of those conversations with some of our peers who we work very closely with, people like Los Angeles Urban League, Vermont Slauson Economic Development Corporation, Wooten Center, Brotherhood Crusade, et cetera.
Wow. So, Robert, can you tell us what is psychological wellness? Because the title of the show is Real Talk about Psychological Wellness. And I think people know what each word individually means, but put together, can you explain to our audience and listeners what that is?
Sure. But before I define it, let me share a story that led me up to it. So in my introduction, what we didn't share is that I'm also an assistant pastor. And so I take a lot of direction from God spiritually and things that I need to do. During COVID, when the pandemic hit and we formed the work that we did, I've been busy 15 hours a day minimum, staying in the game and in this, what I call wartime situation. When COVID started to slow down, and when when the city started to open back up, I began to get hit with a couple of things. last year, I lost my father coming into the new year. Then I lost one of my best friends who I talk to every day since childhood. Then I lost two of my employees that I was very close to. And I ended my year in December with my aunt dying at my feet from cardiac arrest. But because I'm doing the work, you have to compartmentalize, right? So I didn't have the moment and time to be emotional about it. But when COVID started to slow down, I got hit in April with, I woke up one day and didn't feel myself. And I was like, what is this? And I've never experienced depression before. And what kicked my door in was grief. I was finally being hit with the grief of the people that I lost. Now, I've been blessed to have people like Mike Lawson from the Los Angeles Urban League, that when my dad died, he asked me how I was doing, and I said, I'm okay. And he said to me, it's okay not to be okay. And that theme stayed with me throughout. And I started reaching out to different people like Barbara Perkins, who sent me her books and is a life coach and gave me some assistance, and other people. So I have a network of people that I actually had to tap into to deal with my own psychological wellness. What that showed me, and I believe what God was showing me, is we have to get rid of the word mental anything, because it has such a stigma tied to it, that if we could relabel this, repackage it in such a way where we show people that it's okay to get the help you need. As a matter of fact, it's okay not to be okay, but it's never okay not to get the help you need. And so what I did is I began to pray about it, and God gave me this psychological wellness thing to start on. And my goal is to eliminate, like I said, the word mental anything, and look and deal with psychological wellness. And if you think about a horizontal line, with the right side, far right being, extremely well, the far left not being extremely not well. So all of us fall within the spectrum of that. And so the goal is to give people a vehicle by which they could go and get the assistance without the stigma. And if I can pull the curtain back on myself, somebody who's a known leader in the community, then I certainly want to use my story, like Revelations 12 says, there's power in my testimony. I want to use my story to encourage others to go get the help that they need when they need it.
Exactly. I know there's a stigma attached to that word, mental health. People don't understand what it actually means. But do you believe that psychological wellness has more to do with biology or society in general?
Yes. Right. And what I mean by yes is there are some people. Now, by the way, I'm not a trained clinician, but I do know a lot about behavioral health. There's some people who do have biological chemical imbalances that have to be dealt with. So that would be the far left of the psychological wellness, right? And there's ways to deal with that, whether it's medication, counseling, or otherwise, diet, etc. But then there's societal things. When a soldier goes to theater and fights in the war, we know they come back with PTSD, right? When police officers are on the street every day, we know there's no way they can't have PTSD. So they've got to arrive at their job with some level of psychological wellness so that they can stay and de-escalate situations. Same with fire, same with gang interventionists, etc. So it is societal. Some of it is biological, in large part. But whatever it is, we've got to make it so that people will go get the help that they need voluntarily, because there's no way to force someone into behavioral health work. But if we repackage it, the work is the same, but how we get people there is different. We see companies repackage their labeling all the time. We just went through a repackaging on our labeling, but the work is the same. But it's how do you inform or get to the culture of today to get people on the bus to wellness? And that's what I'm committed to.
Well, Robert, we do have a comment from one of our viewers. She says, thank you, Mr. Robert Sausedo, for making a huge difference in the community. That came from Sandra Almendarez Pierre. So I just want to shout out to her and just let you know her comments. Do you believe there are people in certain communities that are more prone to struggles with psychological wellness? If so, why?
I think the answer is yes. It depends. In the African American Latino community, it's not part of our culture to get help. And it's unfortunate that has been the ongoing theme within our community. And as a result, the problems get further exacerbated with behavior, with self-medicating, et cetera. So we've got to deal with it from that perspective. And also when we look at the inequities in our nation, you know, the trauma that Black folks in particular have experienced from both during slavery, post-slavery, even up to today with some of the things we see happening in the media, we have to acknowledge that there is trauma, and that's really what we're talking about. And so while we can't control the behaviors of the system or the systemic challenges, we can fight against it, we can stand up against it, but moreover, we are personally responsible for our own wellness. So therefore, we have to go out and deal with it. And by the way, thank you, Sandra. Sandra's a very prolific pastor herself in the Los Angeles area, and just love to hear her preach, but that's another conversation.
Wow. You know, so is psychological wellness, how would I put this, different for everyone? Do everybody have their own challenges, or it's just a standard that goes with that?
Right. So if you think about the theme or the term psychological wellness, right? So what psychological wellness looks like for me is very different than what it might look like for you, and so on, right? But the key is to understand where your center is, what makes you feel the best in terms of your psychological and physical health, and then the things that make you feel the worst are the things that have to be addressed. So it's doing what you have to do to be well and doing what you have to do to get over the challenges that you're experiencing. And that means building a network of people around you, understanding the resources, and also for family members to see, hey, there's a challenge here. You know, there's a gentleman by the name of Dr. Ronald Beavers, and he's a very close friend of mine, does a lot of work with veterans. And we do work together. And he called me one day and he hijacked me. He says, hey, you might come into my office for lunch. I need to talk to you. So I go to his office. He says, look, I've been watching the work you're doing for the last year. What I want you to know is you're going to hit the wall. And this is before April. And he says, I'm concerned about you. You got to slow down. You got to do the work. So it's having people that care enough about you. And I always say, you've got to love people enough to interfere in their lives. And so I've been blessed to have people around me who love me enough to interfere and say, hey, practice personal care. It's important. And that's really what this is about.
So what is the number one thing a person can do to regain psychological wellness? And we got less than a minute before we take the break.
Yeah, I'll do it quickly. Most important thing is, hey, know what well looks like for you, and then do what you got to do to get well.
Wow. You know, I tell you, we're going to take a station break, but we're going to come back and we're going to pick it up from here. And if you want to be part of the conversation, that's 1-866-577-2473, or just go to the comments portion of whatever you're watching this on. It's your life. I'm Dr. James Cooley. We'll be back shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity. Coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley, the J.C. Cooley Foundation.
Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. raw conversation. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Doctor, James, JC, Cooley, James, Cooley, show. It's your life. Get it.
Is here to equip you to strive for greatness and overcome adversity. It's time to get equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. Now, here's the host of It's Your Life, Dr. James Cooley.
Hello, welcome back to It's Your Life, Dr. James Cooley. And Robert, you're so inspiring and all the great things that you're doing out there. And it's just amazing. You know, I kind of sense that pastor portion of it. So yeah, I kind of sense that, and that's a great thing. That's a great thing because dealing with people, I believe that we really have to know the Lord. I mean, if we want to actually be positive and get our message across, we have to be walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
That's right.
So I commend you on all the great things that you're doing out there, and especially enhancing others' lives. Just like I had mentioned this when we was talking off the air about this probably should be a blueprint for the United States, especially in a lot of communities of color.
Yes.
And just having positive folks just go out there and lead by example, understand what some of the problems are, and just go out and get their hands dirty and work and try to work them out.
Yeah. James, it's interesting you should say that. What we have defined success is most people, when they get in this seat, would identify 3 or 4 things, do them very well, and define that as success. To me, that's mediocrity, because there's so much that needs to be done. And what's important when I think about the work you're doing, for example, and your voice, when I think about the influence God's placed in my life, it isn't so much about me doing the work, and as much it is taking the influence He's put on my path and being able to touch lives with it. So, for example, when the pandemic started, we were able to hire 88 people from the reentry system from prison, from the prison door to our door, as part of our community health worker program. And I was proud of that because I remember when Derek Hill from Dad's Back Academy came to me and said, Robert, the governor has released the lifers. The problem is they have no probation, no parole, which means they have no resources. And it was like the movie Schindler's List for me, where he started taking his ring off and saying, if I could just sold this ring, I could have saved 3 more. And so I said, you bring me as many as you can. I'll figure out how to hire them. And if I can't hire them, I'll find somebody that will. And so we took them from there. Many of them had no resources. In 6 weeks' time, they all made $6,000. They were able to pay for their housing. A couple of guys went and bought trucks and started a gardening business. I mean, we were able to help them. And so when I think about what God puts in my hand, this is what I would say to the listeners. Just think about what God's putting in your hands. It's not for you. We get, if you bring some sunshine in someone's life, you can't help but have it shine on you. So go do the work. I just preached this weekend a sermon, when God calls, you better answer. And that's really the work, is we got to answer the call. And so because there's so many people out here hurting. And what I will tell you, is people ask me all the time, how are you able to do so much? Well, you've got to put some super in your natural to have a supernatural experience. And that's what God does. God redeems the time, and He redeems the energy. And that's what's happened for me over the last couple of years in particular.
Wow. What you're doing with your nonprofit organization, what you're doing in general is very commendable, and it's also about just giving back and helping others. Now, on the topic of psychological wellness, name one of the things, one thing that a person can do to regain or maintain their own psychological wellness, or help others regain or maintain their own psychological wellness, if it's a partner or spouse. Can you give your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. So first, for the person going through it, just be honest with yourself. And if you know you need some help, then let's get the help. If people are reaching out to you, stop and listen to it. But here's what we do in our life we've got to stop doing. We see when people are going through trauma, and we always leave it to them, well, if they need me, they'll come ask me. You've got to stop in your tracks and address it the moment you see it. Example of that was just the other day, I was in Leimert Park, and there's a young man that I see all the time, and he was sitting on the curb, and he just looked really distraught. So I said, how you doing? And he said, I'm okay. And I said, how's the family? And, he kind of gave me a rough answer. And then I turned back and I said, are you okay? And he said, yeah. I said, no, what's going on? So we talked, and then we prayed for him. And he turned to me and says, you know what, Robert, I really needed that. Thank you so much. And I saw him a couple of days later, and he came back and thanked me again. He says, I was really going through it, and that made the difference. And what made the difference for me is to see somebody who had despair in their eyes. And just because of that extra 90 seconds I took, we could see hope enter their eyes and replace that despair. And that's what we should all be doing, is don't take it for granted that someone will come to you for help. Don't take it for granted that it'll be okay, because it may not be.
Exactly. And do you think that a great listening skills is the key, especially if you have a spouse or a partner? Sometimes just listening and not offering advice or your thoughts about the situation is a key skill to have. What are your thoughts on that, Robert?
A couple of things. First and foremost, I've had to learn myself how to be a better listener and know when to turn on solution. I'm a solutions guy. So you tell me something, 5 seconds, I get it. I can tell you exactly what you need to do. But that may not be what they're looking for. Maybe they're looking to be heard. So knowing the difference of when someone wants to be heard. The other component to that is making sure that, I'm sorry, my watch is going off here. The other component to that is making sure that that we do hear and see the trouble, right? Let me have you re-ask the question again. I got distracted by the
No, that's okay. Do you believe that just listening instead of providing a solution or your thoughts about what the other person's telling you is important?
Yes. And so on the side of the married couples in particular, one of the things you've got to get to the place of is understanding how to listen to your mate. Because remember, as married couples, we're invested in the enterprise of the marriage too. So sometimes when we hear something, we're hearing it from the lens of, hey, this could be problematic. And what I would say is you've got to switch that to having more tenderness. And when I was going through what I was going through, the one thing that I was thankful to God for is my wife really listened and increased her level of tenderness, I believe guided by the power of the Holy Spirit. And as a result of that, we were able to work together through some of the issues. And so I would encourage couples to just, you got to dial it back, forget about all the other stuff, and acknowledge that what may seem mundane to you is real pain and trauma to someone else. And that's very, very important.
Wow. Robert, we are going to lose our radio audience in a few minutes. I think we got about 2 minutes. So one thing I want them to know is what is a couple of takeaways that you want them to take from this great conversation?
The biggest takeaway is it's okay to not be okay. It's never okay to not do anything about it. If you need help, look at the behavioral health community or services in your community. Also, there's a new thing that was launched a couple of weeks back. 988 is the national hotline for suicide and crises. 988. Call that number. They can get you the help that you need if you need it. And even if it's not that serious, just get the help. Listen to your family. And for those of you who are not going through crisis, but you see crisis, stop and help somebody.
Yeah. So how can our listeners or viewers get in touch with you or your organization? And what can they do to help the organization out?
Oh, thank you for asking that question. So we are in our 30th year, and we'll be celebrating our 30-year anniversary on October 27th. Our website is Community Build Inc., I-N-C, communitybuildinc.org. And our other website is CRSSLA, crssla.org, crssla.org. You can get in touch with us. Come to the website. There's an community info. You can respond to us in, and of course, we do take donations. And thank you for leaving that door open for me to mention that. We are a 501c3 nonprofit 30-year organization, so definitely would take any support you'd like to offer to us.
Yeah. So you being the CEO of Person, I mean, just in it, has this changed you as a person? Community build.
Yeah.
Can you talk? We got about a minute. Can you talk about that?
Oh man, what has changed me is seeing restored hope in other people. What has changed me is seeing the hopeless become hopeful. Because I'm a corporate guy, by the way. So what has changed me is going from being a bit cold in business to approaching it from a heart perspective. And I'm just grateful to God for that experience.
Wow. I take away from for our radio audience, and Robert, stick around because we still got more live TV to go.
Yes.
But as this great man is talking about, I mean, it only requires you to want to. You got to want to help. You got to want to build others up. You got to want to assist. You got to want to influence, and you got to want to be able to mentor. But you also have to walk the walk.
Yes.
Not just talk the talk.
That's right, James.
Hey, yeah, Michelle.
I got a question for Mr. Sausedo. What are any upcoming projects that Community Build is working on this year?
Oh, wow. So in addition to everything that I just mentioned, we are steeped in a public policy initiative called Groundswell. And Groundswell is dealing with water as a social justice and equity issue, because clean drinking water in communities of color is a huge challenge in not only California, but across this across the state and the country. So definitely want to address that. You can go to groundswellforwater.org to find out about that work. And one of the things we'll be doing as a result of that work in the coming months is we're having some conversations about launching a water academy to train young people to get into the industry of water, whether it's reclamation, whether it's laying pipe, whether it's working and cleaning up the water. Forgive me, I just forgot the term. But those are the new things coming online in the coming months that we're working towards, and I'm very excited about that. And then, of course, some of our social enterprises.
Wow, Robert, I want to thank you so much for taking time to come on the show. And you're welcome back. You already know that. You're welcome back. And we do want to get events or one of your or the friend that or yours that you were talking about. So I want everybody to always dream big, think big, and be big. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley. Let's see you. Hey, Robert. Hey, man, this was fantastic, sir. Fantastic.
Yes. I feel blessed to have been here with you. And, I just hope my goal is to make sure that when people walk away from these opportunities, that application, the ability to do something with what they heard is taken in.
Yeah. And I call it, and I speak about this all the time, is knowledge leads to understanding, and understanding leads to focus.
Yes.
And focus leads to being able to give an opportunity. It provides a key. a key. So with knowledge, we learn by falling down, getting back up, learn from our mistakes. It leads to understanding. And once we do understand from those types of things, that means we're putting it in action, taking it away. We have to focus on staying on the right track.
That's right.
You know, and that provides us to a key to things that we work on all of our life in search of this thing called wisdom. You know, you know, but this has been an absolute pleasure, and I would love for you to be on the show again, and maybe one day share the stage with you. You
Oh,
know?
absolutely. Love to do that. And, you know, one of the things I would encourage, and I can facilitate this for you, is I'd love to have you maybe have a conversation with Captain Daniels regarding Shades of Blue and Ryan Jackson, who is just a phenomenal leader with United Airlines as chief pilot out of LAX. I mean, good, solid people.
I would love to have those conversations, potentially get them on the show if they have time.
I'll make sure I reach out to them and let them know.
Yeah, so let's keep in touch, Robert, man. This is fantastic, man. And I mean it. A lot of great things that you're doing out there, kind of parallels with a lot of things that my organization was doing prior to COVID. COVID done set us back so much, and it's a challenge.
Well, you know what? Don't see it as a setback. See it as a reset.
That's right. That's right.
Reset.
Yes. So you know, with God always have plans for us to go out and inspire and help lift and bring other young Africans, young men and women, Hispanic young men and women to the forefront. And we have to continue to do what we do as leaders to help guide them.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Well, whatever I can do to work with you, I certainly want to do that.
And same here, sir. Same here. You know, so but I want to thank you again. And if you can put me in touch with those guys, and if you can keep in touch as well. I mean, we're gonna work together.
We'll certainly do that because there's a whole lot more exciting stuff that we could be talking about in the coming weeks. So get ready to hear more about it.
I look forward to it, sir. And thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Peace and blessings to you.
Same to you. All right.
Okay.